Hey, back at it again like we never left. We are AKA, no, I gotta say that part first, right? No, we are the Sample Friends, AKA the Super Friends of Sampling, AKA the trio of talking track samples, or BKA, better known as the Beat Connection. To my left, yeah, right. Hey, we have the beautiful singer-songwriter producer.
All right, this is Alexa Gold here, y'all. What's up? What's up?
And our resident everyday freestyle fire spitter we do have at the bottom.
Azrael, Dicaprio. Call me Karee.
Hey, you have me. You can't do kids. The pseudo kind of / kind of. I ain't gonna call myself a host, but you know, I kind of get us kicked off and started. I bring the Flavor Flav energy, and with all that being,
Shizz.
And with all that being said, we are the Beat Connection. Hey, and let me go ahead and get us set it off right. Let me, because y'all know I get a little excited sometimes about certain tracks. You know what I'm saying? And this track right, this particular track right here.
Oh yeah, this all you. This all you.
I'm excited. So we might have to label this episode the Human Torch because everything is on fire. Everything is on fire.
Everything's on fire?
Everything is on fire when we talking about these two tracks. I'm gonna just go ahead and get the statistical stuff out the way, right? Mm-hmm. So the tracks that we'll be discussing today, the original being the magnificent Marvin Gaye song is Far Cry off the album In Our Lifetime, which was released in January 1981. The modern day update that sampled this is drum roll please, off the album Friday on Elm Street. Two top tier MCs. We got my man Jadakiss and Mr. Fab, Fabo. You know what I'm saying? Produced by Swizz Beatz. And this particular track was released in November of 2017. And with all that being said, got that out the way. Yo, when you want to talk about bars and just real rap and just cats just snapping on a track, these two definitely went in. I'm gonna say these three definitely went in because, you know what I'm saying, I'm a fan of I think ad-libs bring a certain something, or when I mean ad-libs, I'm talking as far as Swizzy being on a track. Because you could practically say this is Jadakiss and Fab featuring Swizz Beatz, you know what I'm saying? But I say all that and pull it back to say that the Marvin Gaye track in itself, the production on that, the beat itself, for me, the beat is fire. And I know we talked about before, there's no such thing as cheat codes.
No, this is a cheat code.
I'm gonna call this track right here the Contra code. Because if anybody remembers the game Contra, you know what I'm saying, I ain't gonna say the up, down, back, forward. You know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna say all that. But this was definitely like,
no, this was a cheat code.
This was a fire, flame on produce beat. And I almost feel like, and I don't want to take nothing away from Swizzy, but I feel like, all they literally had to do was just take the original
and do the shopping,
add a little bit, and just put bars over it. And to me, I can remember when this album dropped, meaning Friday on Elm Street. Yeah. And when I was listening, when it originally dropped, I was just I went on like iTunes or whatever, and I was just kind of skimming through because you can kind of sample it real quick. And I remember I was drawn to the name theme music because in my mind, I feel like everybody has theme music to their life or certain periods in their life. Mm-hmm. So I went to that track, and I was like,
"Yeah, you gotta take your head off, take your dreads."
I think I started sweating.
Take out the handkerchief, like
I think I started sweating because it was so fire and it was so hot, and y'all don't clear on my forehead, it ain't that big. But this joint right here was a beast of a track. But again, I say all that to say the original Marvin Gaye song was fire production. That's all I got.
Lex?
May I? Because I don't. Well, one thing I will say about the Jadakiss Fabulous track is that, so the producer, because I think the assumption might be that Swizz actually produced it, and from what I seen, it was somebody else that who produced it. His name is Seasick.
Seasick. I thought I saw that somewhere.
Yeah. He actually produced the track, and
well, the production made me seasick.
Yeah, look, and he's a French American. Like, he moved to the States when I think he was like 9, when real young, moved to Chicago, and he's produced for a number of people. Actually, he's produced for I believe Nas, Tory Lanez, like Logic, Meek Mill, like. He's definitely produced for a number of people. It wasn't too much like information that I found on him, but needless to say, obviously, like, he's dope. That's obvious. But I do want to speak on the Marvin Gaye track, and particularly not necessarily the track itself. I'll speak on that in a second, but also the entirety of the album. So the album is In Our Lifetime. Came out in 1981. Actually, this was the last album that he made for Motown before he left. Right. Because he was starting to have problems with them, and actually, Far Cry was a single that Berry Gordy, forced them.
You already know. No, go ahead.
So apparently, Berry Gordy wanted this album done. And he put out this song. And so when I first heard the song, because I had never heard this album, never heard the song ever until a few weeks ago. So I'm listening to the song and I'm like, why does it sound like Marvin Gaye mumbling? Now Marvin Gaye, he got a smooth vocals, but like you can usually understand what he's saying. So I'm like, why does it sound like he kind of like mouthing the words a little bit? Like he's trying to he freestyling. And come to find out, the song is basically unfinished. Right. So I'm like, oh, okay. That was like, the song to me is still dope. Like Marvin Gaye, I mean, he can sing the ABCs, and it's gonna be fire. So for me, it was like, okay, cool. But then when I listened to the full album, I was like, oh, this is a beautiful piece of work. And I think for me, why it kind of stands out a little bit is because this is the album primarily where he basically wrote all the songs, played most of the instruments, at least like the keyboard, synthesizers, all of that. He even played drums, and he mixed it and produced it. So this was
he got busy.
It was his baby.
This was his baby. This is what he put all his energy into. And it was one of his last albums. I believe it was the album before Midnight Love, which was like, had sexual healing on it and all that kind of stuff. But definitely for this particular album, it was kind of like an independent, it has the energy of an independent project. And it just brings it's so soulful, it's so funky. What he's saying, it's such a different feeling to this album. In terms of, the Jadakiss track, you got it. Like, it's cool. It just wasn't like, I didn't grab it.
I know what you're saying.
It'd be like that. It
was just one of those songs that I didn't necessarily, it wasn't for me. It wasn't made for me. But definitely the Marvin Gaye, like Far Cry and the album itself, it was made for me. I love it. Like I've been listening to it, for the last like few weeks. Like I absolutely love it. So go ahead.
Okay, before I head to the mic, before we head to the mic, listen, Alice. This rabbit hole is gonna get smaller and smaller. Don't try to squeeze through too bad. All right, we're gonna have to pull you and unplug you from the Matrix eventually. So,
fortunately, Lex tackled some of what I had to say.
Oh, she tackled it, but you about to smash it.
Right.
No.
Go ahead, get busy.
No, because I'm going to speak for Alexis too. I feel like she kind of dialed it back as an artist. As an artist, whether or not you're signed or not, the audacity, okay? But let's hold on, because I don't want to take any shine away from Swizz and So who did you guys say? Seasick?
Yeah, Seasick. Yeah.
Okay, so Tidal and I think I looked on Genius to confirm didn't have his name listed. But that doesn't mean that doesn't mean that he didn't help produce on it or that he didn't produce it. That happens a lot.
Right.
Whoever produced it was smart enough to flip that.
Right.
Whether it was Swizz, whether it was Seasick, whether they were together, which I assumed they were. I assumed that they were together because a few years ago they weren't, and they be in the industry, they weren't as honest with producer credits as they are now. Like if you look at DMX's new album, everything that Swizz did, the co-producers are listed. It wasn't always like that. So with that being said, Fab and Jada went crazy. Like the opening verse when Fab was like, my principal, my teacher called me a dropout, so I had to bring the dropout. Jada came in and was like, I'm in homeroom
school with sex.
I was like,
say something about.
Wait, and then a few bars down, he said, got me teaching niggas principles. I'm like, oh, these
right, yeah. There he is.
So then I think Fab said something like, my jumper is back, and Jada came in, was like the Euro step line.
Yeah,
I was
the
like,
German Ruger.
I was like, yo, these niggas going crazy. So Lex, I know you're not into that part of hip hop.
I mean, it just wasn't. It doesn't mean I can't appreciate bars. It just was, you know.
I understand. As an MC though, as somebody who does that,
I respect it.
It's just like, yo, to be a fly on the wall when they was going crazy like that. Now, we got that up.
Here we go. Hold on. Let me put my seatbelt on. Cause I'm coming with you, brother. I'm coming with you.
Barry Gordy owe me a favor.
Oh.
Look. And I just watched the Hitsville documentary series on HBO. So I love Motown. I love what Barry Gordy did. I never take anything away from him. That was fine. You don't have somebody go steal masters from Marvin Gaye because you got a deadline. Like I get it from a business aspect. I get it. I understand. Yeah. In between a rock and a hard place. As an artist, it doesn't feel right.
Right.
And for Marvin, if you heard Marvin Gaye speak about that album, it sounded like Motown dropped the ball the entire time. So the original name of the album was In Our Lifetime, with a question mark, as in, will the world end in our lifetime? It was a question. They didn't even add the question to the name of his album. That's offensive. So then Marvin says, when they asked him about the single, Far Cry, he says, you take an unfinished painting from Picasso.
Right.
And go add an arm, go add a leg. That's the difference between being a creative and trying to get paid off of money. Right. I completely understand Barry Gordy's perspective in this situation. I just don't respect it. I understand it, but I don't respect it.
Right.
Because some odd years later, now, when the man is gone, they're putting out the album as an extended version with Far Cry the way he intended. Mm-hmm. Not that he intended, but they didn't. It's unchopped. It's unedited.
Right. Yeah.
So you hear more of the jazz.
Right.
Now you add the question mark to his album title that should have been there in the first place.
Right.
Like, I understand it's the music business. I understand that decisions have to be made. That's Marvin Gaye. Marvin Gaye had done a lot for Motown.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Prior to that album.
Yeah.
Because now I'm thinking, would you do that to Stevie Wonder? You know what I mean? Like it's and that's what I meant by rabbit hole. Because like,
right.
I don't know, man. I don't know. It's a sore spot for me because I feel like Marvin Gaye deserves better.
Right.
I feel like Marvin Gaye deserves better. And to speak about the music quality of it, how amazing is that record for it not to be finished?
Right.
Like,
right.
Let's talk about that for me. You know how much of a genius you gotta be to freestyle and come up with a hit? And Swizz and them ain't the first ones to sample it. So an edited version, an unfinished version of a Marvin Gaye song not only gave Fabolous and Jadakiss probably the best song on that album. That's arguably the best song on that album. God's first single as a solo artist, Bizarre, which was produced by Bink. Bink is a producer from Virginia, kind of came up around Timbaland and Missy and all them. He sampled Far Cry for Bizarre. So when I heard theme music for the first time, it took me right back to Bizarre. And I think I like Fab and Jada's version better, but I like Bink's beat better.
Oh, okay.
Like Bink flipped that amazingly. He slowed it down a little bit, but that's neither here nor there. I'm just saying how incredible a unfinished Marvin Gaye record is that established producers have used it to create hits for other artists. Right. And Marvin wasn't even finished with it.
Right.
So that's I'm gonna dial back my tangent. That one hurt because I started with Far Cry. Like when we were talking about what we were going to go over, I'm like, I'm always down to Eastern Marvin. And then I ended up doing some research and finding out that that's how Motown did him. Yeah, it hurt. It hurt. Yeah. I almost felt like when De La Soul couldn't get off Tommy Boy.
Right.
Like that's, and we just talked about that. So it's still fresh in my mind. Thank God that they're finally off of them. But I appreciate that Marvin Gaye was able to create such a beautiful record and still not be done with it. Like I would have loved to see how he would have finished it.
Oh yeah. And I think like it was a time, I think that it was a fertile time for him because he actually went to like different studios to do like different parts for that record, for the album. And so he had like his own studio, but then I think he recorded in London at some point in his career. And also we're talking about a man too who throughout his career, at least like the later half, was struggling with addiction and like all kinds of issues in terms of his relationships and even his death. Yeah, and I was just about to say that even like going up to his death, I mean, there was so much that he was battling with, having struggles with money and touring issues. There was so much that he was going through, but he still managed to find, like, the music was always the center. Yeah, that was the thing. The music was always like the thing that he came back to, and that's where you got to see like his raw, authentic self. And I think like this particular album, and it's why I love like independent artistry, like when you're not kind of confined. Not to say like record labels are always trying to confine you, but I think like when you have the opportunity, when you have the opportunity to create something that's like solely your vision and you're not worrying about how people are going to receive it, like is the audience going to like when you're not in that mind frame and you just create for the sake of like, I want to make music that I truly want to listen to and truly want to make. I think that this was kind of like that record. I think that this was his album. Because no one, funny enough, when we talk about Marvin Gaye, no one really talks about this album. Like, this was the first time that I heard about this album when I speak to, you know, when you talk about Marvin Gaye, no one really brings up this album, and I'm really surprised because
maybe due to the controversy surrounded behind it, maybe because and just to speak on like as far as the process of him doing this track, I can feel like Reed, I can feel like that energy of like that was a grimy move, because I can remember as an artist, right, when you get unfortunately in the business of creativity, right, and I can only speak for me, when I draw, meaning putting pencil to paper, for me a lot of the times it's a feeling. And I have to be in the feeling, in the mood to do it, to create and put out my best work. And when you feel like you're being rushed, or okay, it's like got a set deadline, you know what I'm saying, to take care of business. And I get that, I understand the business side of it, and that's part of it. But sometimes, you know, your feelings, there's no standard guidelines for how your feelings work and how they interact. So I can understand having a project, having, like you said, Lex, having your baby, and this is something I'm putting my all into, and I want to make sure it is right and make sure, you know what I'm saying, I'm putting out the best of what it is that I'm putting out, because this is me doing it, and then having to be rushed to put it out, and then because like we've stated several times, it being unfinished, and then having it unfinished is still being kind of taken away because we got to meet the deadline. It's a terrible feeling for, I know it's a bad feeling for being an artist, but I can only imagine it's being an artist musically, like I can, because that's something that's going to be put out and pushed to the world or whatever. And you know, Marvin Gaye being who he is, it's kind of like, yo, I got a standard, or not, I won't even say a reputation. I got a standard that I uphold within my own musical self. So I wouldn't allow this to come out unfinished and not all the way completed like this. So why are y'all pushing me to push this? Because it's like, again, I'm putting my all into this. This is my baby, and I want to make sure it's right before I put this out to the masses, where it's as close to right that I feel is right. And being pushed to hurry up and do it, it's got to be a terrible feeling. And then, but like you said, Reed, how that's got to speak to the talent,
right?
You know what I'm saying, of a Mr. Marvin Gaye to have something that's unfinished and still be like fire. And like you said, Lex, right? And like you said, Lex, for it to not be spoke about as much as, say, obviously sexual healing, but it's still a fire track.
Right. Yeah. It's one of those, I think, moments in time and moments in our artist musical history where they're able to be a bit freer in what they choose to create. And I think that whether the masses know about it too much or not, I think that's why it's so much fun to go back into a person's catalog and see like what they've done, because you'd be surprised like how much an artist can create in their lifetime, but because of what was only released, you only get like a sampling of that, you know. But like for this album, you know, I was really listening to it, and it's just like you got the funk, you got the soul, you got the jazz on it, you got the way that the songs move from different genres within a song.
What is that, like a synthesizer or something? That little
and this was also him experimenting in terms of the instruments that he was using. He was playing the instruments as well. I mean, a lot of people don't know that he was kind of like a session musician. You know, like he played piano. He also played drums, which I didn't know that he could do, but he played drums as well. And then he brought in like a bass player, and I think
I got
a guitar player.
I got his name too.
Okay.
Hold on. Keep talking now.
Yeah, but this is one of those times in an artist's career where you just allow yourself the freedom to truly create what you want to create. And I think a part of it too was like sort of a rebellion, because he was ready to get off of Motown and, you know, ready to step away from that, you know, like he's been with Motown. I don't know if it was since the beginning, but definitely near the beginning. He's been with them for a long time. So I think he just kind of grew up and he was ready to kind of like move into like a different phase of his career. And I think that this album was a part of it. I won't say it was the beginning, because he also had, you know, What's Going On, which was, I mean, they wasn't really feeling that either. The politically charged stuff. Right. It wasn't really feeling that. So, and I Want You, which, you know, his other album, because they kind of wanted him to be kind of like the lover man.
Right.
You know, sort of.
Wait, I'm so glad you mentioned I Want You. Have you ever seen the studio session of him playing, singing I Want You?
Like he was like on the couch. I remember.
High as a kite on the couch. Yo. Effortless. He was barely conscious. Effortlessly, just amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. Oh, so Gordon Banks and Frank Blair. Those were I think Gordon Banks was the guitar soloist and the bass player was
Frank Blair.
Go ahead, Lex.
Oh no, but I guess that's kind of just what I wanted to say, is that, you know, Marvin Gaye, I think, was entering into a new phase of his career, and I think that this was that shift. I think this was the beginning of this shift, and unfortunately, you know, due to his untimely murder, we couldn't see him move past, you know, like, or even further past sexual healing and what he did, you know, with what his last albums. But definitely in our lifetime, it's a powerful work. It definitely is. It's a powerful work.
Karee, what you got on the final thoughts, sir?
Again, my final thought is just the genius of Marvin Gaye. Genius, and the beauty of hip hop, able to take certain elements from certain records, just to, I mean, because at the end of the day, hip hop is at its rawest form is artists freestyling over music that inspires them. I mean, that's the root of it. Like, at the root of hip hop core, you were already taken from previous records. So when I hear producers sample, all it's doing to me is paying homage. I wish that labels would understand artists. And I feel like that's a hard ask, and I feel like that's why a lot of artists are independent nowadays. But the beauty in Marvin Gaye's music, sometimes you just have to trust the artist. You know that saying that the 60s use, trust the process? Like, trust my process. Like, I'm Marvin Gaye. You're gonna get paid regardless of what I put out. The fan base is there.
Yeah.
Have some patience. I wish they would have just afforded him that luxury instead of repackaging it and putting it out the way he created it 25 years after it originally came out. But salute to Marvin Gaye, man.
Yeah.
Lex, what you got?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Trust the artist, trust their process, and trust the timing. You know, like Marvin Gaye, as we mentioned in previous episodes, you know, we talk about these artists who are essential to what we call message music. And Marvin Gaye was definitely a messenger. And you can hear that in his music, and not just a messenger in terms of like political unrest, but also in spirituality, not just love, but like spirituality, you know, and like our connection to, you know, to God, and, you know, like the essential like oneness, like connecting to each other. And I think like his music, I mean, a lot of people know him as, you know, in his love songs, and then you might know what's going on, but he was such a well-rounded artist, you know, and I think that's why his music continues to live on and why it continues to be you know, sampled as well. So, you know, definitely much love to Marvin Gaye, his legacy, and in everything that he's done, you know.
Right. Memory, take you back to the time, take the time to remember that you can't get the time back. Hey, but that's what we do here in the Beat Connection. Hey, we revisit those times. We revisit those memories and take you back to the times when I'm not saying the times are great now, but we revisit those great times, great artists, and great moments in history. Mm-hmm. So with all that being said, not ending on a somber note, but
wait, Sean, hold that thought, because you asked me to say this in pre-pro and I almost forgot.
Go for it.
Friday on Elm Street originally was supposed to be called Freddy vs. Jason the album. They couldn't clear that title with New Line Cinema, so they changed the name to Friday on Elm Street maybe about 2 weeks before the album released. I wanted to put that out there because this podcast is a lot about clearances and having permission and the consequences of not having permission.
Right. I said that's a good point, because at the end of the day, you always think you always think that it just clearances. You think it just, because we're talking music, you think it just evolves or revolves around the music. But hey, as you can see, as my man just put out, it evolves around titles as well too. So
it's a business.
Hey, never forget never forget. Do your homework, do your due diligence if you want to put your stuff out. So with all that being said, we are.
We are who we are. How about
that? We could be that too. So add that to the AKA list. Hey, we are who we are, AKA the Sample Friends, AKA the Super Friends of Sampling, AKA the Talkers of Track Samples, BKA the Beat Connection.
The Beat Connection.
Hey, I am your man, pseudo host, AKA your man Shizz Raw Knuckles if you want to fight. Hey, they call me Sean Michael. Only my mother says that, but y'all can call me whatever, as long as y'all spell it right. And
that's Stephen A. Shizz from now on.
Hey, let's get it. Let's get it. This trio is comprised of this young lady to my left. You're right,
All right. Here we go. My name is Alexa Gold. Once again, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Don't forget to comment. Please share your thoughts with us. We want to interact with you. We want to know what you think about the episode, as well as any future episodes that you want to get in on. So please let us know what's going on. Let us know what kind of songs you want us to discuss next. And
And our resident flame fire spitter, our resident human torch, our resident hot mouth, you know what I'm saying, hot tamale tongue, you know what I'm saying, what you got, who at the bottom?
Azrael Dicaprio. Broadale squad. I ain't shout out my squad in all these episodes.
They already know who you are. They follow you. They track you. And with allegedly. So with all that being said, we are the Beat Connection. Hey, make sure you tune in for the next one, and Can do.
We out.
Peace.